So Sreelal, thank you so much for joining us on the pod today.
In terms of childhood, you had lots of pressure with your studies being from a Indian culture. So I don't enjoy the school life, remembering about the school life, to be honest. Remember, I was lucky enough to be dad put in a small private school up there, but everybody is flashing out lots of money and stuff and all. I don't really have that. I'll show you when I grow up how this is done.
And also, I think what's hard is when you're surrounded by people that are employees, you think like an employee. Your environment is so key to change the rooms that you're in. If you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You know, you don't have to forego some of the important things in life whilst you're on the journey of your hustle. So, and this is what I try and encourage people with, is that they always have a reason to not start. Because I started buying in 2019. Because remember, the headlines were property prices are going to go drop off when we leave the European Union. What happened? Total opposite. You know, property investors, developers I know feel pretty poor. And it's a weird...
The asset-rich cash poor.
That's it. It's something that's not talked about enough in property, because a lot of the courses people go to, it's all the upside. You know, here's how you're going to be millionaires. And I always think the amateur investors ask how many properties you have. What's the biggest building you've done up to date?
So size-wise, 15,000 square foot. Why are you living like this, man? Like, they don't understand delayed gratification. You know, the idea is not to look rich, be wealthy. Everybody wants to guide their children, and a blind can lead a blind. When I'm doing my self-development, actually I'm learning a lot, and that's what probably I could impart on. So, you know, school system is not going to make them any better.
I think parents have to take that responsibility now. Firstly, what's your greatest fear?
Good question.
Do you have a faith?
I do.
What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self? Are you optimistic about the future of this country currently, where we're at?
To be perfectly honest, no.
So Sreelal, thank you so much for joining us on the pod today.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you for inviting me.
No, a pleasure, man. A pleasure. And on such short notice as well, I really appreciate it. But I wonder if you could just start by giving people an overview of what value you think you can bring to them today. We have a broad range of people listening, whether from, you know, business backgrounds, property, investment, personal development. What value do you think you can add?
Perfect. I think my journey has been employed to a business or contracting side of things, you know, development space. So it's been almost a decade into property, but coming from a software development background, moving on. So probably could help in terms of somebody thinking from employers, how do they switch to something property? I've been done most of the deals all over the time. I've done buy-to-lets, HMOs, development, now buying blocks of flats. That's the thing going on. So can probably give some highlights around what's worked, what probably, you know, we had, challenges as well around the space. And it's just a journey. We all are, you know, having every time and growing. It's just a bigger challenge coming every month or every year. That's the thing. So probably that's the one.
That's awesome. I think that's so helpful because what's cool about your journey, from the little that I know about it so far, which we're going to unpack, is there are 3 phases of business I talk through on the pod constantly, and that's starting, scaling, and selling.
Okay.
And you seem to have been able to do all 3 at different stages, and you in the scaling phase / a mixture of selling as well, because you're doing the blocks. But I think the starting part is so hard for people to get going because you're dealing with all the fears of transition from a quote unquote stable job, you know, to something that's seen as unstable. So I wonder could you take me back to your childhood?
All right. Yeah.
So you're going to go all the way back here, go on the journey, and tell me where did you grow up? Did you come from a family with money? What was the expectations placed on you as a child and business?
Great question, buddy. Yeah, I mean, luckily, I come from a very small town back in South India, Kerala. It's called. So that's where I don't think I'm not coming from a lot of money, but I'm lucky enough to have great parents. So parenting was great in terms of not love my parents. But as you can imagine, in terms of childhood, you had lots of pressure with your studies being from a Indian culture. So I don't enjoy the school life, remembering about the school life, to be honest. It's been tough with the expectations and things. If you reflect it back now, it's more of a culture, but while you're going through it, you don't really enjoy. But then sometimes, when you grow and reflect on things, it's more those are the things you're giving that additional, what you call, appetite, in terms of, when you get lots of stress, this is nothing compared to what I had at that time. So your risk, your level of things you can take, or is quite high, I would say, from that perspective. But other than that, a lovely family. We had, like, my dad, brothers, all staying in one compound, three houses in big compound. So grew up with my cousins and stuff. So that's all great journey. But I always had big ambitions in terms of, I think, it's from, I was lucky enough to be, dad put in a small private school up there, but I was up down here, if you remember. But that helped me to say, okay, now everybody is flashing out lots of money and stuff and all. I don't really have that.
You didn't have that,
And I said, you guys are showing from your dad's or parents' money. I'll show you when I grow up
Yeah.
how this is done, probably
Yes.
on my terms. And I think that's been a good fire. If you look, where do you get that fire from being more successful? So yeah, that's where it comes from. And again, with most of the Indian families at that time, you have two choices mainly. You either become a doctor or an engineer. What do you want to choose? That's the choice. I was good with maths, so picked up the engineering side. So I'm a computer science engineering graduate, and worked with multiple MNCs back in India, and then was deputed into on site. So was in Netherlands for working for ABN AMRO Bank. No more there. Then came back. I think in 2008 came to UK. For Bupa consulting into there. That's like a dream at that point. Somebody, an IT techie working from India, getting on site was a big thing. Your next level, how do you go? How can you double up or triple your salary? Get on site. So that's where I get from. My UK journey started from around 2008 coming down.
2008. So probably one of the worst times in history to come to the UK, but your this from your I remember reading Jay Shetty's book. I don't know if you read any of his stuff, and he said I think he's from Indian culture as well. I can't remember exactly where he's from, but he said you had two options: either a lawyer, a doctor, or a failure, and those were the three things that he has given. But he said his biggest mindset shift was when you're pushing against certain like cultural expectations, and you take that step into, that feeling of risk or what's seen as risk. Can you just talk us through that? Because obviously your parents come from a good family. I'm from a small town kind of mindset. I call it the small town mindset, where people don't really fully understand when you start stepping away from the progression that they might have planned for you. Did you find that difficult? Did you find that easy?
It's difficult because I think you expect, as you said, everybody is competing for either to be a doctor engineer. The competition level are quite fierce up there, and then you're trying to you need to pass through entrance exams and different levels. So it's just not your school curriculum. If you look at it, if you want to crack something like this, you need to prepare separately for that, and just get in that. And then it's not like that you got ranks and it's all merits, everything. Getting there was tough, but it's just the belief what whether you're going to get it or not. But once it's at different levels. I think for me, I think I was lucky enough to secure a job or secure a good sort of college for that side. That's the trending was computer science. That was like you're saying like AI that time. If you get computer science, prior to that 10 years it was mechanical engineering. During my time it was more computer science engineering, because that's the upcoming thing where you think you can go make a lot of money, and so everybody wants to join that, so limited seats and this kind of thing. But yeah, in terms of challenges, it was hard because you don't know anything of it, but then you get there. But I think when I came out, it was again 2002. There was a crash for Y2K sort of thing. So passed out 2003. None of the people in 2002 got jobs. There's lots of people in the market for that. So getting a job was a big challenge. So it was been in Mumbai, Bangalore, all the space where you hunt for the jobs. So I took up a call center job because again you didn't know much about it. Rather than take your parents' money, cash flow yourself from that perspective. So I used to work for Reliance at that point in Mumbai, and then you get a little money, but then that'll help you to fund yourself and go for all the interviews, which happens kind of things. But yeah, luckily got after a year and a half into MNC, and my journey of IT started from there.
Wow. Wow.
But there was different levels that you just get into IT. That's one thing. Then you get there, you want to get to on-site. Then you see, you're working with consultant contractors. I don't know, about how it works. They get like triple or 4 times the pay, and they say, that's good.
Yeah.
That's the next level.
Well, it's crazy because one of my good friends, he's a vet.
Okay.
And I remember he came over from South Africa and he was on, I forget what it was, he won't mind me saying, but it was, say, 40 grand, 50 grand a year. And we were talking and he was nervous about going to self-employed.
Yeah.
And I said, how much could you earn in a day? He said, oh, sometimes up to like £1,000 a day. I said, what are you doing? So you could work, 4 or 5 days a month, earn even more because of the way you can offset costs, and you'll be fine. You could, like you say, quadruple it. But it's funny how people's risk appetite or what they see as risk keeps them from taking those steps of, their journey forward. And also, I think what's hard is when you're surrounded by people that are employees, you think like an employee. So when you surrounded in the contract, whatever industry you're in, I always say to people, like, your environment is so key to change the rooms that you're in. If you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Exactly.
There's that shift that needs to come. I wonder if you can just talk into that as well. Is how have you found that helping you, coming from a small town? Because I still find some of my friends from my hometown, it's so refreshing when you see them because it's just, they know you as the kid that grew up doing stupid things, all of that kind of thing. But then there's something rich about those relationships, but also sometimes when I go back, I'm like, oh, I'm glad I left. You know what I'm saying? Not I'm glad I left the people, but there's a different mindset that I've got now that's global in nature. I wonder if you can just talk into that.
Exactly. I mean, I can completely relate to you. I think, it's different levels. You enjoyed that time. I still cherish the days, back in with my friends and stuff. You're one of the happiest time. You had very little money, but, happiness level is like there. But then you start your challenges, you start your journey. I was lucky enough in here, as you said, the environment. I was the only one, like a permanent employee, along with lots of contractors. And, you see, you do additional supports on weekends and stuff. And these guys get like 4 or 5 times more than you get paid a day. And then they said, "What are you doing, Sreelal? You got this sort of skill set." They're saying, "Oh no, I'm so lucky to be here." But then they said, interacting with them changed the mindset. It's a big risk, and for me, the biggest risk has been, 2008, 9, the crashes, everything is down. And I was asked to go back. They said, "Your contract here is finishing. We'll put you another contract in US." And I said, that's the time I need to make a decision. And I said, okay, luckily enough, UK government at that point considered mine as a highly skilled program. You're considered as a highly skilled migrant, and I was able to apply for that, and they said, yeah, happy to accept you. And the visa came in, and I said, I put in the papers. I didn't have any job. They were saying, are you crazy? This is the worst time. Everybody is getting fired, and you take the safe ride, go there a couple of years. After a couple of years, you can come back and do it. I did it. I couldn't find any job in UK, so I had to get a consulting job in Dublin, Ireland. So to fly up there, did 6 months for Anpost, but that changed my whole life, my trajectory in terms of that risk. Because when you come as an employee, you are under the banner of a big company. Somebody's done the sales, somebody has already done it. All you just doing the tech work. You don't do any of the rest of the stuff is done by them, right? You just need to do the work. Being as a consultant, you have the whole risk of going to interview, sell yourself. It's a complete change of mindset. And again, the difference in terms of how you handle your money. You have a consulting company, bring the money. How do you start talking to accountants, good advisors in terms of how to handle money and stuff like that. So that's where I've learned my lessons for how to run sort of companies and stuff. Yeah, still got it open in terms of SwiftNet. I've started in 2010. That's when I started, kind of working on that space.
So you move over. Are you married at this point, or?
I'm married. Yes,
Yeah.
I met my partner back in India, working, and then it's love marriage. We just when I went to Abraham Pro contracting, we got engaged, and when I'm back, we got married.
Okay.
So married at 26, 27, 26 years old.
Okay.
So
So sorry, did you meet? Was it arranged marriage or
no, it's not. We were colleagues in
colleagues?
office,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
then that's we
yeah.
met, and then
And
yeah,
you made your move there, hey? And
yes,
it's
yeah.
yeah. And was that a
So
good investment?
it's a good investment.
Yeah.
Happily married with 2 kids.
Hey, that's a the thing about it, I always say to people, I find you know, your that's when you look at a risk analysis, that's the investment you need to get right. When you people spend so much time on property and all these things. But I say relationally, because that's partly with the podcast I wanted to talk into and say to people, you don't have to forego some of the important things in life whilst you're on the journey of your hustle and
Hmm.
trying to get to where you want to get to,
Yeah,
because it can be a very empty ending where you reach certain goals. I'm sure you can relate to this, where certain things that you didn't think possible, you start reaching, and then you're like, oh, now what? And then it's the people around you, your kids come to you and they just remind you of what it's all about.
yeah.
I think it's the most important thing. So,
Very true, very
mm,
true. I mean, it's sometimes when people say this to you, like if
mm,
you haven't gone through, you don't understand it unless you go through it. So I had a phase where we're doing lots of developments. We had like 38, 4 developments going, 38 units, and I was still consulting, doing this actively. I think midnights, networking, meeting
mm,
with investors, updating all the stuff, and then family. You have to compromise somewhere. And then I mean, on mentorship and stuff, like you see some people having massive goals, but then you get to know them a little more. The family, everything is compromised, so it's too late for them to realize life has left them. They're not in good relation with the kids or anything. And that's like, when you reflect back and say, do you really want that? I'm like,
mm.
no, 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 no. I mean, that's not where
Yeah.
I don't want to be like a miserable multimillionaire.
Mm,
Anything.
mm,
So you start sort of prioritizing. And I was lucky enough, which is I got my eldest one is the 16-year-old. He gone through all our journey in terms of young ups and done. I got a 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old one. He's like, you're reliving the whole stuff. I don't want to miss him as well in terms of
wow. So,
it's just I got a teenager. How he's
yeah.
going to be, but this time like it's more on us. So we enjoying the whole time with him, me and my wife. Reliving with him and trying to say, okay, this is a different experience for us. It's more of a decade difference between the two, but it's just it's nothing wrong with that. You as a parent, you are learning, you as a person improving those things. And yeah, with me as well, I don't realize until some people say, if your home is settled or sorted, that's the best foundation for you to grow your business. Until that's not there, you have problems back here, it creates you a lot of problems in your business. So we've been managing Touchwood so far good. I mean, it's a journey, personal journey. So it's always good sometimes when you really, personal development, you do a lot. If they also catch up a bit, kind of help you to, you know, uh, get your conversations right, or, sure. Yeah, the biggest thing opener for me has been, getting self development. That's, reading books and, being in the mentorship, changing your group of people. That does, had a huge shift.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's so important. Is the foundations? Is that kind of in development you're building. If your foundation's wrong, the cracks start showing, but not immediately. And that's the deception. I think is that you put some pressure and some weight, then suddenly that crack shows, and then you think, wait, what's wrong here? You know what? And then the shortcuts that were taken in the foundation phase start to really cause trouble. I think in relationships, in people's journeys, even your childhood. And that's why I always go back to people's childhood is I say, well, there's certain things we don't actually understand about ourselves that have been rooted in us from that time. And the personal development journey is kind of unveiling that, bringing a self awareness so you know what's motivating you, what's driving you. And I wonder if you could just talk into you're in the software space, you are doing really well in that space. What led you to the property side or, this entrepreneurial side? Where did that come? Was there a light bulb moment or?
No, I would say, I mean, my dad is a businessman, not a big, but he has been in the business. So I'm quite used in the childhood sort of, the tensions and this risk. And he talks about, being working hard, doing that stuff and all this thing. I was making money, but then I didn't feel like, you're contributing enough. I felt like, IT world, I was more like a drop in an ocean kind of thing, but I want to do something of my own. Like, okay, if you think a bit more when I go, what is left while me being here for a little amount of time, what did I do? Like, I want to be kind of do. So I used to, I mean, for me, the main driver, to be honest, where it started is, as you said, we didn't have too much money. the main fire was if something happens to my parents, like it's not like NHS here where you get free medical thing or something. We'll have to probably sell whole our home and stuff. These days anything can happen. Something like a big cancer or anything come, then you're completely kind of on the streets or thing. And that sort of led me. How do I do this? I started investing in stocks. Didn't go well because started in 2006 with the small money I had. 2008, everything went. I said, no, that's not for me because I'm not somebody who is going to be tracking what's happening in the world or news. That's naturally not me. So stopped there, burned my fingers. I said, I don't do that. But properties thing, I thought, okay, what do the wealthy people do? I mean, once they make money, just park it in property, and also why don't do that? So I started buying properties up there. Over a period of time, did land, then bought. At one point I bought like farmland. Thought of doing highland, which is high tech farming in that space.
What, in India?
In India.
Okay.
And I said quickly realized I can make a lot of cultivation. I can do it, but when it comes to selling, we cultivate lots of bananas, 10 acres of bananas and all, but then the price can drop. Mangoes season has come early than this. I said, that's not a scalable business. Lots of variables on there. But then I said, that's with partners out there and all that. If I need to take control of my life and what I'm doing, where am I, I'll do it here. And that's started kind of, thinking me to bring everything back to UK and start the journey from here on my own terms.
So how did you learn about property in the UK context? Were you watching YouTube videos? Were you going to networking meetings?
To be fair, I didn't consider UK market at that time because I thought the whole market is back in Asia. It's growing. Prices are growing up really good, but I didn't know much about it. So it was an accidental landlord with the first buy-to-let, bought the first house, and just to try out Milton Keynes at that point. So I was in London, then Leeds. I was not so sure about Milton Keynes. We thought, okay, we'll buy a 2-bedroom near to school and see whether it works out. If not, no problem. We can change and sort of thing. And me and my wife both are into consulting. So we wanted an area where, quite pretty near to London, Birmingham, everything. So we're quite central with that. But then moved on to after a year, Milton Keynes works. I got lots of friends and circles over here. So we moved on to a bigger property. And then all of a sudden started money. Oh, okay. Like £1,000 that time, £300 is the interest-only mortgage.
Wow.
I was like, wow, this is good. Easy money. More of that. But that started it. But then I realized I need to start learning. So I've been to a lot of property educational time at that point in terms of educating myself to see what it says. So that's when I said, okay, came to know about this HMO and stuff. Had a double with HMO. So HMO typically is 150 and sort of, okay, I'm like more a logic coming from IT. My brain is more numbers, logical side of things, so it's okay. Rather than spending 150 or something, let me try rent to rent to start with and see if it's the right thing for me. Quickly scaled up to 3, and then something I didn't like much. People fighting over milk, this thing. Always the smallest room had troubles. I have been Santander employees maybe working on the one, but maybe the smaller room might not be the right fit or whatever. But then there's troubles happening. I said, I don't want to scale this to another 100 and that 10 times the problem or 20 times the problem. That's not something I fancy leaving my consulting. So that's led me to thought of saying, okay, what's a strategy that could work locally, like probably an hour from here, because I value my time. I don't want to be traveling up north to get better eagles. And then I started educating in the development space. I had no background whatsoever with property, so I had to start everything from here. But I think the one good advice I had is I met a similar guy who was like a couple of years ahead of me. So I invested a small portion of money. So he used to do a mentoring. And he said Sreelal, if you decide on a strategy, which was like development, go figure out who are the people out there and you try all of them. You'll get a small puzzle. They might not be the best for everything, but you get this part of the jigsaw there and another jigsaw from another guy, and you make your own kind of, unique propositions from all of these guys, and that becomes your kind of, strength. And I followed that, and I think that way it was able to quickly get into it. I think 2018, that's where we started Provident Homes, and in the development space was the end of it. And the whole journey started up from there.
So you did a buy-to-let, did some rent-to-rents for people that are not in the property space, a house of multiple occupations. So you split into rooms, renting it out, making a profit. But then you have the light bulb. Yeah, okay, I'm going to do development. Now, what's interesting about that is it's 2018, 2019, Brexit's coming in.
Yeah.
Everyone, if you remember back to, and this is what I try and encourage people with, is that they always have a reason to not start. There's always the timing isn't right, or they're waiting for the bottom of the market and all of that. Because I started buying in 2019.
Oh, did you?
And so, similar time, I remember people, being confused. Like, oh, well, wow, what's, all those voices were, because remember the headlines were property prices are going to go drop off when we leave the European Union. All of these things are going to happen. What happened? Total opposite. We had COVID as well.
Right.
Again, what happened? The economy stops. Everyone's like, well, you're surely going to stop buying. That was one of the best years in terms of capital appreciation that we've seen.
Yeah.
So can you just take us back? Like, did you have those thoughts coming into your head at the time?
If I reflect back, every time I was analyzing, if this is the whole thing about business stuff, you can you'll tick lots of boxes. Equally, there'll be some issues you think is a problem as well. So some of them, if I reflect back, I was too analytical on it. I'll see cover lots of negative, see, and then you might kill the deal as well. You don't do it as well. But luckily enough, when we started development, we almost a year was just into finding a deal, as in. It's frustrating. You just want to do the first deal. It's quite, but then I had the right mentors who said, "No, don't do that." You would feel to do it. No, we can make it work. We are so efficient. We are smart people, so we will do that. No, but so that was a good thing. I think of the first deal when we sort of signed up, which was land, which taken planning for 18 houses. It was almost there pre-app. We had a nice partner around here, sort of thing. He said, look at here, all the pre-app says it's all fine. So it should be 6 months and we could be able to start and, do that. So the scalability was exciting rather than you buying one property, doing that. And the cash flow is going to be, this is like, you can sell it. It's quite, maybe, you touching a bit of ego as well there. But it took almost 12 to 18 months to get that planning approved. And we finally got it approved. And then you have the COVID coming in. We got to have something with planning and the whole shutdown, everything. It's like, oh, nah. And at that time, we got a bit frustrated with, this planning angle of 6 months to getting 18 months. We already had kind of, went into another with planning of, we bought a big building, 15,000 square foot with planning for 24 units. And it's like decision, there's a whole country shut down and it's kind of, those things. So luckily, I think that's one of the best deals we didn't do is like, we just sold the land. Complicated, had 26 conditions to discharge. And one of the guys, national builders next to us in that in Northamptonshire, they were quite keen. They said, our lads are finishing on this side. We need a work for them to go on. So this will be perfect. And yeah, we sold that on that one to start with. But yeah, it's been, since then, it's been a lot of learning curves as well from there. But yeah.
What's I think that's something very important to think about is ego and how ego can cost you money especially in this business, because everyone wants to put the best deal online or the best, and the same thing with stock investors, whatever business someone's looking at. What I found is people always tell me their wins. So they'll say, oh, remember that time I sold the stock and I made 100 grand or whatever. It's okay, cool. What's your net that you made in that year? With all your losses added in and that. And then suddenly it doesn't look so great or whatever.
Yeah.
Can you just talk into that? Because I think especially the development game, the numbers can look so sexy and big and, exciting. But in reality, the net margin, how important that is to keep your eye on the numbers and all of those various risks, like the discharges on planning, which people don't factor in, of how complex that can actually get, and how you navigate that. Because I'm sure in your mind, you're very much a numbers guy, it sounds like.
Yep.
But then you're also dealing with some unknowns and where the risk element variable comes in. And at what point do you pull the trigger and take that risk?
So to be fair, I mean, from our perspective, so I'm the numbers guy. I'm working with one of my business partner. He's on the other side of the spectrum. He's too optimistic. So when we look for a development deal, his GDV is right up there. mine is here.
You-
We argue
we
and we
meet in
come
the
to a
middle.
middle. Meet in the middle. He'll say why this is. He'll say this is a unique development with
Mhm.
factories getting converted. It's not the box type people are doing, so people are happy to pay premium. I'm saying yeah, we got equally this 10 years old, but probably not there. So we just come to okay, let's figure out here and kind of that's been well and good because you had somebody to eco your stuff. You don't want to kill the whole deal and stuff, but we've been very good at buying the deals. So I'm good at finding like great deals or find the margins. The one we bought in Cambridgeshire was like a laundrette with planning for 3 houses, townhouses, and I looked at it and it's got 2 apartments above. And saying, why would I take and convert that into a townhouse? Because the cost of converting that is so high. I'll just maintain that, build another one, and then we had to buy the house just behind because it's in the same title and convert that into a 16 bedroom. Cash flows very well. You got like 1/3 of the cost of doing that. So, but people just look at just that and try to work out. Oh, this is not a deal. So we were able to pick those sort of things. So we had huge margins on the deals, but that's the only thing we were helped us over with. We had COVID thing. Then we had if you remember, the war came in, material price went through the roof. The big things we had for lots of steel to buy 30-40% up. They said, I mean, I'm not bluffing. The contractor saying you look at the price where we started when you give a quote
It
and
was
say
hectic.
thing.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
was able to take a lot of a cushion in there from that perspective. But equally, then the last bit we had with list trust coming out, and then I had term sheet. The one I've done in Milton Keynes, if you remember, I don't know I've told you, but we bought an office, empty office in Volvo 10, converted into 7 beautiful apartments. And I had term sheet at 3.5, and I was like, is that the best you can do and stuff? They give me, and then this list of whole drama happened. You're getting like term sheet at 8, 7. But it was like, whoa, those days, all of a
Yeah.
sudden things are. So first, when you start, you think finding the deal is tough. We were good with things, so started with okay. Now I think getting deal is okay. Construction delivery is the biggest part because every site is different. So we had site managers managing, and then we had FTs as well. Luckily, one of the FTs. So you just say, okay, this is where we had the estimated cost. This is the actual site here. So you need to keep that numbers in display, saying, okay, where we doing a bit higher. Some we might be able to save because of some new contacts we coming up. So yeah, I mean, from challenges perspective, if you look at it, it's all different, but you need to be from our learnings perspective, always make sure the reel is that. I mean, sometimes the best deal is the one you walk out from, but always have a lot of margin in there, kind of thing. So few of them we made money, few of them we lost money as well. So it's just as you said, very rightly said, it's averaging out on this thing. But we moved on a lot. I think for me, 2023 has been struggling because our 2023, 24 was kind of, we had like lots going on. We kind of 8 million into development space and, exiting because in Milton Keynes, let's say prior to that, if you have a 6% yield or 8%, people just take off your hand. Now the whole interest rate game has changed. That's no more nothing. You need 8 or 10% for an investor to buy a block or kind of stuff. That's kind of completely changed over period. So this is something happening in once in a century kind of things, all in 6 months or a year's time coming up. But we were good because when you entered the market with the right deals, that kind of we managed it okay-ish, I would say. But lots of my friends, everybody else struggle. We also lost money on few of the deals, but we made something in. But the key focus we've been from last year has been buying blocks of flats. So, which I'm sure you might be heard of title splitting.
Just for those that aren't in the property space, so you're buying a block of say 9, 10 flats on one freehold title, and then you splitting them legally, and that's increasing the value of the properties.
Exactly. So we are interested in. So if you know, I mean, there's lots of blocks of flats which has not been title split. So owner have bought it like, let's say for simple example for people to understand, you got a freehold title, 3 flats in there on a freehold. You buy it, let's say for 300K, but individually each of those flats, if you title split into a different one, it's going to be 135. The GDV is 400. So you buy it at 300. You title split in 6 months' time, individually valued at 400. So in 6 months' time, you kind of recycling. You might need to do some works probably, or it's just more an asset play. How you play, and then you recycle most of your cash. So going in developments and all, for us, the reflection point for me, if I look back, as I said, the numbers game is for a deal for me to start to finish, it might take to 18 to 24 months. So your exposure to the market is that long. I've bought it right, but until I finish and exit it, whatever is at that point, what is the market? If market is doing great, you're fine. But if it's something like a recession or dip happening at that point, there's no mercy. That's what it matters. So how can I reduce it? I'm more looking at internal rate of return on the money. So if I'm into a deal, and let's say my deal typically is 6 to 7 months or 8 months. So if I deploy my money, especially with our investment partners and all, if I can do it 2 times, imagine, even if it's like, if you can make 20%, if you can do it 2 times, 40%, or simple, even somebody doing it similarly, even can do it 10%, is 20% return on your money. And your risk exposure is just to 3 to 6 months. And we underwrite the deal while we enter. So somebody third party. So it's just more about covering your downside as opposed to upside can happen. But as long as you know when you enter, these are the downside. How do I just sort of, do it? So for us, typically for deals, the risk survey comes and says, okay, you're buying at this value. They say, okay, if it's split, this could be your, based on comparable systems, you can, okay, here we go. Kind of confidently go further on it. So that's where, we're playing, nice at this point.
Yeah, I think it's a great strategy. And I think that when people understand, when I'm talking to people that I mentor or whatever, I always say, people look at the cash flow. Sometimes people get big eyes about the equity. I always say equity is, it's paper wealth.
Exactly.
In terms, most property investors, developers I know feel pretty poor. And it's a weird...
The asset rich, cash poor.
That's it. So every penny's working. That's what I always say. Most investors I know aren't sitting with cash in the bank. They allocating constantly. Their capital allocation's efficient. But then, so people focus on cash flow, equity, but then speed of your cash coming back to you on the recycle. That's so underestimated, because when you look at a deal, that's really where you protect yourself. So, because I like to get in and out of deals as quickly as possible.
There you go.
And if you use day one refinancing, you can have exposure for 4 months, 3-4 months. And it's this part of development that the friends I've seen in the game that are doing well, but also some have been doing well and then they get hit with a bad year. Because they're trying to offload or sell or something, then they're trying to refi them, but the valuations are coming in lower, so they're stuck on bridging finance.
All right, yeah.
And then it's so important to analyze that, because it's something that's not talked about enough in property, and that's where my passion really is. Because a lot of the courses people go to, it's all the upside. Here's how you're going to be millionaires, retire in Hawaii, and never have to work again. In reality, we know you get to the point where you could actually retire in Hawaii, but then you realize, wait, I wouldn't be happy doing that. So I wonder if you can just talk into that risk profiling for people, that when they're starting out, they don't jump into a deal too soon, because I've watched it so many people. When people say, here's how I can make it work, I get worried, because I'm like, the deal, yes, there's an element of knowledge of, like, for example, in Cambridge, there's a different play that you can do, especially with permitted development and that. But with where you're trying to force a deal to work, I always think those are the ones that go wrong. I don't know if you found the same, or how you'd encourage someone who's starting out, they're frustrated, they a year in and they haven't got their first deal.
I think reflecting back, or the learnings what we have from this thing, something easy to explain is, I heard some this called like a wealth triangle, especially if you're looking from the property space, or like you have a triangle, and the bottom part is the bigger part is the cash flow part. So you need to understand what is going to be your cash flow strategy. As you said, for somebody who's not a lot of capital, it could be just, rent to rent, HMOs, or service accommodation, whatever is that. So quickly brings lots of money in, but that's a noisy business. You don't want to scale that too much, because then you will be pulling all your hair out to just manage that. You just need enough so that, that will help you to get your next game. The next level could be your profit play, which could be your flips, or in our case, what we're doing is really, we got lots of off-market sites. We're flipping care home sites with off-market sites with that. So that's where, we're working with, H&I individuals who are interested in that sort of care home space, or, we had working with, social housing providers who need specific requirement land or building on that space. So that brings like cash, 50, 100 grand or something. So that's your like cash injection into your business at a certain point. It's not something, it comes in 6 months, it might take a year. kind of thing. But that's going to make a big difference. And with that sort of money, you have the top layer, which is at the top of the pyramid, where you have the boring asset play. It's low yield, but then a low risk as well in terms of blocks of flats where we play is like easy to manage. That's where you're going to retire or you're going to make money on. But you can't start straight up because you have some little money, you can't make too much of there. But all these layers will help you to build the top layer. And when you want to pull the plug, and what do you say, if you want to relax, if there's a thing, they can do it, or they know their numbers, they hit it, and it's kind of easy retirement. And that's where we see it, and it's kind of work. So when the problem where it happens is people try to jump the layers too quickly, and without sorting out the cash flow, they go into a deal or flip, or they think it can be done in 6 months. They've faced a lot of challenges, gone to 12 months. The bridging, as you can imagine, the bridging interest goes up. They can't, exit. There's no enough profit, and they're off the job. Or the cash flow could be, if they're in a good job. I know people saying leave your job or something, but if you're good, you're stabilized in there, you can manage it these days. If you can manage your work and efficiently and stuff, and then you can do that. That also could work on the side. You can work with someone, or you can slowly understand the game. Okay, is it something for me? There's lots of strategies. People say property. If you go every time, you learn a lot. I'm learning a lot in terms of what's the game in plan, and it's not probably the people on Facebook or something. I've seen lots of landlords who's making money. You can't see them on Facebook or LinkedIn or there, but then they're making massive good amount of money playing it safe, and so yeah, that's where I would advise people to look into and see what fits for them, what works for them.
I think that's such good advice in terms of because have you worked with your IT stuff on the side constantly whilst you've been building your property portfolio?
Yes, that was the one because I was consulting good money, and I'm looking at probably that was one of the reasons for equally. I said I'm doing HMOs and all. Okay, you're doing it. Obviously, your lifestyle has gone a bit high, and then it's difficult to match it. And I said, okay, and again, when you talk to people who are very successful, and they've just realized and say, you don't need to do that bit if you can carry on consulting, because we are independent consultant, we have been asked to serve. So you can carry that, or if you do a few days in a week or month, that will give you the freedom to do it. Not necessarily you have to take your cash flow from property. Or in your case, if you have a trading business, it's good to have a trading business until you scale it. All the profit you coming, you can put it into property. So it could be either way. Your cash flow doesn't necessarily have to come from property itself, if that makes sense.
No, definitely. I think what's important to hear in that, because I help out a few people and I'm helping them on their journeys, and it's so interesting the excuses I hear of why they're not taking action, why they're not doing something, and most of the time the excuse will come, I have a full-time job.
Okay.
And for someone like yourself, I kind of had a bit of a strong word with some of the guys recently, because I said your viewing numbers aren't high enough. And if you think generally I work 6 days a week as like a minimum, because I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. It's about impact now. And I have a day of rest, 1 day a week. And I said, if I'm doing that, I'd expect everyone that I'm helping to be at least doing that, if not 7 days a week. In order to get to where they need to get to, you've got to put in the work. But that excuse that I need to be full-time in property, and also people read silly books and, oh, just give up your job and just go gung-ho, almost like I won't mention names, but people just go all in. I say there's so many lessons you have to learn, and you can't learn it just from a book. You have to do the deal. You learn every day, as you're going. Can you just, talk to people, and also some of your friends maybe that you've seen on your journey, and those that are still on the journey of property, financial freedom or building their empires. A lot of people I know are working a full-time job and doing it at the same time. I've always done multiple things at the same time, and how you manage your time in order to accomplish that, and what kind of strain does that put also on your family life? Were there seasons where you felt you neglected your kids, your wife? Can you just talk into that because this whole podcast is called the Real Hustle Podcast. So it's about
100%.
In the hustle, but also how real was it? Was it painful?
It was painful. I'd say being from a consulting, and I got a lot of friends. We used to party all weekends, everything. That used to be the normal. And I kind of realized, your group, like you say, from people, your immediate 5 people who is it, and some see, I'm in contracting, but like somebody who's there for you, if it's a permanent thing, oh, it's scary for me to do. But they all of a sudden interacting with us, they might take it and say, oh, it's enjoyable. For me, I was not growing, I was in the top, then you're missing. Like you said, you need to be the dumbest person in the group, then you're going to grow. So people mistake things and say, "Oh, how do I get this companies of people?" So you sometimes need to buy into these groups where they're really doing well. You do the due diligence and say they're really doing well, and it's thinking you need to copy them in terms of their habits. Why are they successful? What is that they differently do in terms of saying? For me, previously, I never used to take care of my health. If you're taking money, you're easy, it's fine. First of all, your why. Why do you actually make money? It's a big. There are dreams, but are you really committed to do the work? And for me, that's kind of changing the whole group, and then seeing bringing that accountability into play. You started doing self-development books again. It's kind of what books at what point you're reading. You don't want to be, I mean, all of a sudden you take a top level book and say, "Hey, it doesn't make any sense." But somebody who's employed or something, for me, big difference. Jim Rohn, right? I mean, Jim Rohn was a good thing where some of the words of wisdom he talks about, you work hard on yourself rather than on your job. Kind of says is more of, you work on more your self development. I mean, people seems to be working hard, but maybe just on their job. It's just maybe sometimes ease off a bit on from your job and says, what do I need to become? What are the habits I need to
So good.
change? And that little habits, if you do the same and expecting a different result, and you can just reflect back on, you're doing the same. That's been the thing you've been doing 5 years. Don't expect some massive changes over the next 5 years unless you replace it with habits. Okay, I don't used to go to the gym or training, whatever is it. I start doing that. So those are like foundational habits you can put in. And just whatever works for you. For me, it's like morning. Calisthenics is something I picked up. Like was CrossFit, and 2 years back, calisthenics and all. But then first day, because if I do it later on day, you'll have busy with many other things. You don't make it happen. So first thing you get that, and you feel like a sense of achievement. Your energy is top level kind of stuff. But again, having all this, again, people can have a lot with the books, wisdom from the books, but it doesn't mean anything until you brings that into practice. It might be sometimes better to have the same book read few times and then implement that in your life,
Absolutely.
as opposed to read 5 and you getting confused. Oh, it's too much, I can't do that kind of things into my job. So that comes from, I think, over a period of you going through the journey, because we all have done our mistakes of trying to get so much things, and then you say, okay, what is the key thing what I need to change in my life that will have a biggest impact? Whether you can start with health, or you can say, okay, instead of watching series or whatever it is, I'll start you know uh, following this particular podcast or getting that wisdom. Because 95% of the thing, like people say, 95% of things what you think about every day is the same, unless you give a different level of input, either from books. Are you a visual person? Are you more of reading person? Or for me, it's just audibles, because I like viewings, other things, and all. While I'm on the car, I listen to, I take inputs. I'm not, it's hard for me to sit and read, but it kind of works for me if I go for a walk or traveling. Audibles are the best thing I can take on, and kind of saying whatever works for this thing, taking that input slowly will have impact. You don't expect like in a month or so, in a 6 months, in a year, you see that small compound effect reflecting on your life. And when you look up after a year or two, it's completely, you've changed, and that start reflecting your thought processes on a different level. You start believing in yourself, to be honest. That's the biggest kind of benefit I've seen with this thing. The whole thought process, self-belief, coming with all the stuff. Again, entrepreneur, I don't know, you've read the book E-Myth Revisited.
I haven't yet.
Yeah,
It's a
E-Myth
good.
Revisited is like, for a beginner, what does it, like, a business looks like. So he's beautifully explained in a story, how to systemize things, what are the people you have. But when you start, you are the person dealing with it. But as you grow, you need to replace this key functional with this, X person, and then that kind of, but he portrayed in a way, it's very much understandable for us, because, if you put just key figures out there, it doesn't mean anything to people, but he explained it very beautifully in that. So, and plus your circle, the groups which you bring in makes a massive difference, because all of a sudden big numbers doesn't feel big, depending on the game you're playing. And you just need to level up each time. So I would say yeah, just reflect and see what we think. And yeah, I mean, other things what I see where even I'm inculpate for, as you know, you make a plan for the whole year, beginning of Jan, very happily starting off
Mm.
with that in Jan, February fades away, and then December when it comes back, oh, November, September, November, I say I had some goals where I would go with. A 12-week plan or like quarterly plans are being very effective. So you're not bullshitting
Absolutely.
yourself, you know.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, I want this many units, 100 units. Well, am I with? Okay, 25 per quarter. Okay, what do I need to do? So you have something leading indicators and lagging indicators, you know. So you need to be fit, but it doesn't come fit the end of the quarter. If you look, no, have you been? All you can check is how many days I committed to go to gym. 5 days. Am I doing it? So if I did 5 days, okay, 100% this week. If it's just 4 or 3 or 2, and you really there, the fact is in front of you, and if you're not going out there, it's not going to happen. So it's just for us in property, it's how many leads, how many of those things. So we keep track of how many leads we're looking every week. So if it's 100, that's the number of leads come to analyze those. We get into 10, and then out of 10, probably we will offer on 1 or 2, and it's just a numbers game. As long as we're doing that, we will get to our goals in terms of as a like we can say, oh, next quarter you can say, was it good, should I increase it or should I reduce it? You have some figures, because property is quite slow game. So unless you have this data to reflect back and check and sort of change, it's be hard.
And also, what's nice is data doesn't lie. Numbers don't lie. That's always the phrase I use. And if you don't break your goals into measurable components and keep track,
Yeah.
and it's amazing how you can lie to yourself. Because I have a number of habits that I do every day, and it's funny when I input it at the end of the day into the app that I use. It's amazing how quickly I'll round off 25 minutes to 30 minutes. And I thought, wait, hang on a second. I'm lying to myself. Those 5 minutes compounded over a month add
Yeah.
up.
Uh-huh.
And I remember Ed Milet talking about always doing the extra rep at the gym when no one's
Bit more than
looking.
what.
What the goal was, he just does that extra rep, extra 1%. On the podcast, we call it the 1% improvement.
Yeah.
Where no matter what, we're like, how can we improve this by 1%? Because to think that I'm gonna be this professional podcast on day one is crazy. But each time I'm gonna improve. And in life, Tony Robbins talks about life as progress or moving forward or growth. And I think so many people are drowning in information but starving for wisdom. And that whole thing of, well, how do I apply this knowledge in my life? Property is not complicated. We know this.
Yeah.
And it's a weird one, because I think the belief in yourself is probably the biggest hurdle people have to overcome. So how did you overcome that? And have you overcome it fully?
No, yeah,
Currently?
I'd say the best thing, you're very right in terms of, you take a lot of information and then you got information paralysis where you don't know because you know too much about stuff. Most of the people know enough and more information in from their perspective of, although there's some point it might be stop taking any more information and focus on execution. Based on the knowledge, I would say, am I executing it well? Am I doing it well? Because sometimes, at some point I can say, I'm reading a lot of books, this thing and all. It's your books thing is coming, but in terms of executions and stuff, if you reflect on how much are you doing, have like kind of, focused time effort sort of, focused effort time where you say you're undistracted, you don't take any calls, even if it can be a couple of hours, makes a massive difference every day. Is there one thing at a time, or the one thing, if you say you're just doing deals or property analysis or whatever that, it's going to be like 1 hour, 2 hours just focused on that, and doing that makes a massive jump on your business. So again, people talk about sometimes it's a focus. How do you do focus? Do you practice it more to get better at it? One thing which has helped me, I don't know whether you said it, like some of the musics, some people align to it. There's something called Brain FM. That's been a good change. Have you listened to Brain FM music?
I haven't. I've had a friend who said I should.
Yeah, that's like, people could just, it's free. I mean, they charge you as you can have Justin Sung in YouTube. It's a 3-hour focus time. So he's somebody who's good with, is a doctor, then he's into business and the stuff. On YouTube, he does it. It's got like 50 million, whatever. You can just put it on your side, put it on your headphone. It's like a 50 minutes sort of focus time. And then after 10 minutes, he'd say how to unwind. So our unwinding 10 minutes might be different. I'll go to the phone, check the message. He said, no, don't do that.
No.
So he talks about doing doodling or stuff for 10 minutes, which is bringing your brain more into that sort of space. 10 minutes break, or you want to take a sip of coffee or something, and then you go and get into that flow state. That makes, and then practicing at first it might be hard, but then you see he's literally doing in front of you, kind of make you believe, oh, if he can do 3 hours just that back to back, why not I? And that has a massive difference. I've seen, so these days, it's just that you just need to understand where is that I'm not lagging on. How can I improve that? Maybe it might be your unlocking thing,
I think that's so helpful, and I think for people to always have goals that they can control.
Yeah.
And I like what you said there. Leading and lagging indicators are so important, because so many people make the mistake that they reach their initial written goal, they stop then sourcing deals or whatever, business, sales, whatever industry they're in, and then they have cash being refinanced sitting there rather than being activated into the next deal. And it's one of the most stressful things when you are so focused on something to constantly spinning, multiple plates.
Yeah.
It can feel like, you've been torn a bit. But I found recently I think Rob Moore talks a lot about like how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And I so agree with that now, because health and fitness, since August last year, I just thought, I cannot compromise on this. This is, mentally, I cannot operate without investing in my health, and seeing that. And I wonder if you could just help people to just understand a bit about your daily routine. What does that look like? Are you one of these guys that has like a strict routine, or does it change massively day to day?
No, I think I kind of fit to it. I mean, there are days where you can or this thing, but mostly morning wake up half an hour, then I have like sort of my vision board. You can say got a big massive vision board, but there just go and look at it and kind of say this is happening. This is kind of get that feel into it, kind of thing. And then I got you start your day off, and then for me there are a few written affirmations and stuff. Been doing it for that's been helpful. But in half an hour, 45 minutes, I got my personal training coming in terms of my calisthenics, so I'll get to the gym. I'm somebody who would have worked as over the years. I can't do it myself in terms of training, like planning what am I doing, leg day, up is like pull day, push day, all this stuff. What works versus like a personal trainer. But luckily, I got somebody from India who comes. Calisthenics is my thing. I like that. It's different every day. It's pull up, push up. When I started, I couldn't do even one single pull up. Now it's changed. There's lots of skill to unlock in there, and there's a different level of challenges as you progress in. Like my this year goal is somehow get to muscle up. It looks easy, but it's not. It's really hard. The level of power and stuff. So he helps me to guide me in terms of Monday is a pull day, like push day, or like it's got a structure, and it is his duty to organize what level am I, where am I going, and so for me, just execution, focus on it, give my 100%. So this day, like you said, and I give 1% more than yesterday, then I'm winning. So that kinds of put me in the right frame set. If I am not doing it, let's say for exercise a few days, you already feel it different. Your positivity and all this. So when you have the stress management level is quite low, but when you keep doing this, obviously you get lots of problems in business and all. This is kind of foundational habit. I felt like kind of making it. So that coming back, having few time with my little one up there, that's kind of gives me a fresh
Fresh or draining, which one?
no little one is thing. I wouldn't say it's that same for the bigger one.
So it gets harder.
He's 16. He knows everything now. Kind of it's the space of doing his GCSEs as well, but the little one is like papa kind of stuff. But it's all phases. They have their phases. We've gone through that kind of thing. But I mean, after that it's just with getting my list. So I follow like Sunday plan my main task. So every Sunday I like plan for the week in terms of what the main things are. Because what I've realized, sometimes you can get drowned into admin task or few other bits. But what are the key things for this thing? It's submitting the planning application, or whether it could be the deals which we are working through our my thing. people don't understand that most of the deals are made on follow-ups. So the deals I've done, it's already sold. Then I might just be going up and asking, are they performing? Are they thing? We are ready to go. You want to go? And they say, oh, okay, let me talk to the owner. It's been like 6 months they've been going and follow-ups are good. It just doesn't mean once it's sold, because almost 40% of the deals fall through, especially in commercials more as well. So it's just following through for us to make sure there's a spreadsheet which I look. So my employee they bring me all those deals, what they found out from there. We have metrics to go for, and then I call up them, check with them. That are the main things for us. For us, it's deals and the money for the business main stuff. The rest of things, we already been there, like lots of contacts with the rest of refurbishment contractors and all that's there. But these are the two things we kind of match on it. And then I do consulting as well into my IT space stuff. Do your work in there. And what in my downtimes, what I've reflected and which is run great is walking. Like doing just 10,000 steps a day, because we all are in the front of laptops doing a lot. But it's just not that about the walking thing. When you're in connection with the nature, especially in Milton Keynes, we got the red routes. We don't have any excuses of say, so lucky enough to be next to a red route. So we do that, kind of stuff. That's been very therapeutic from the side. And I think I would say I'm more disciplined up to like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And after that, it's kind of, bit kind of, flexible. Could be network meetings, or depending on day, it could be different. It's not that rigid structure. Meetings if I need to be in London, or investor meetings I need to go, or family, being with the family, or with the little one and stuff like that.
It's interesting. I think knowing where you need help,
Sorry?
knowing where you need help
Yeah.
is so important in terms of, like you said, a personal trainer for you is helpful.
Yeah.
For other people, I always say there's an area of our lives. I know to get to the next level, I need a trainer now. And you've just got to that point where you're like, okay, I'm doing my thing. I'm happy with my routine. But if I want to get better at something, you need someone who can encourage you, take you forward. So I wanted to ask you, if there was any person you could meet on this planet right now, who would it be and why?
Good question. I think at the moment, I'm quite a big fan of Alex Hormozi. I don't know if you follow him. I like his philosophy, the hardship. It's not bullshitting anybody. He had like 7, 8 business where he sort of failed on it and finally kind of things. But kind of, I feel like he's kind of talking sense and adding a lot of value. If you follow him through and things what he's doing, they charge a lot for something what he's saying on a closed store. It could be like they'll be charging 20, 30 grand, but he's just giving it free. But people, whether value it or not, the books even but somebody who's starting a business could be quite helpful. Where you need help with is with the leads, or is with the all the stuff. So I mean, yeah, it'll be good to have those things. Him in terms of having a great conversation, but he's added a lot of value in terms of business and how you could there's like live sessions where he takes a business and says where exactly is the problem, and then you can reflect and say, how is that doing for
And
my
applied.
business?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be exactly he's talking about mine, or you can just say, okay, am I doing it right, or do I need to change? Or you do when you say I'm doing like what is it, 5 videos or something, he says that's way too less, you need to do more, or you have a feast and famine sort of for us, when we do development, it's kind of feast and famine situation. You say you have a big chunk of money coming in like 12 months or 18 months. That's not business. You need cash flow, which is the way you could grow. So the additional chunks can be additional layer coming onto it. So you need a different level of foundation. And that's all kind of help you to nail your strategy, because people don't understand. You need to take a lot of time to hone your skills and say, what is the strategy I'm going to focus on? How will you do it? And the best thing, what people don't understand, is they go with one strategy and think they can make money on it. The key thing is you need to layer different strategies, stack strategies one top of another. That brings you a layer of profits. Let's say if it's blocks of flat, you do blocks of flat, title split, you do that. If you can put on top of that, let's say a leasing play into it, that can bring, because you're not chasing the big numbers. You need to look at the net figures. You don't have no management fee, 10% management fee gone, other gone. You got more time with you to grow your portfolio as opposed to managing all those assets. All those things, and it's less effort, more money, and your bottom line is even growing. why not have it?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
sometimes you need to just stop, reflect, and see based on back numbers, what is it? How is it performing? Okay, I need to change this part of the business, and that could make a big difference.
I think that's so underrated because so often the goals that are set are gain more, gain more, gain more. I was talking to a really good friend yesterday, and he was saying, because I'm in currently quite a big growth phase, and I know there's systems that are creaking right now. You know, they're breaking behind the scenes. So the staff, we're taking on more staff, and we're having to create processes, systems that work for this next stage of growth. But asset management is so underrated in property because everyone glories in, gain new properties. You could be losing money. And I always think that amateur investors ask how many properties you have.
Mm.
People who don't know what they're doing will say, how many? And then they'll be, wow, you have how many? And the funniest part is you could be up north buying houses for 20, 30, 40 grand, and you could have hundreds of these things.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have more, capital value, again, equity, cash flow, speed and protection of your money. But this underrating thing of asset management, what you've just said of, okay, how do we increase these net figures and also your time return, which I think is too underrated, and stress. And, all that comes with property, which, again, all the socialist, communistic thinking in society today of, let's just get it from the rich, and that people miss the part of how much stress people are under in order to gain these assets and build this wealth.
100%.
Can you just talk into that of, what is the greatest stress you find currently in the business that you personally struggle with and that you're working through?
I think for us, like you said rightly about this kind of, but you go deal with strategy when you start, you think it's the best. Like HMOs, that was one problem of where I found out where, you good with cash flow, you're seeing big figures so for each HMO bringing you like solid number of figures, but the effort you're putting is quite hard. So you going away from the business and sort of managing this wear and tear and stuff. And it's like you don't want to scale this to a certain figure. That's why we took away from that. And then we still did HMOs, but more was on a leasing structure. So we got a charity on a 5-year lease, FRI lease, fully managed every year on the CPI. It's index linked, so they increase the rent on that. Minimal. So our strength is buying below market value or whatever. Find the deal, do the work. We're happy to do all the required works to bring it to the right standard, and then give it to the guys. Charity providers with the huge need of these sort of accommodation. That's what we did. And our challenge for us, I think, a couple of years ago was more in the development space. Was the amount of time it takes. When you look at it, the figures are great, but then it's taking 12 to 18 months, and the exposure, you don't feel comfortable. If you're doing something in 2014, you are on a rising market. So even if you make slight mistakes, market will forgive you. By the time you're there, it's already 5% up, 10% up. But you need to be really strong with your numbers, at running a tight ship to do in this current environment. And you don't know, what's going to happen in like next 6 months, forget about 18 months. And that kind of reflected and said, okay, am I doing an ego drive here or just doing it? It looks nice, big, massive buildings. We're doing like, I mean, I'm really very proud of, because we employed like hundreds of people, around 6 million in terms of, we just did just on construction and other bits of it. And there are like, massive buildings, which were
What's
like
the biggest building you've done up to date? I mean, size-wise?
so size-wise, 15,000 square foot, old Victorian shoe factory, complete derelict building, 15 years or 10, 15 years. It used to be old thing. So that was converted into 24 beautiful apartments. And we sold it early last year. But, yeah, but then you can probably make equal money doing maybe smaller deals as well, right? Kind of, but the risk associated with the amount of time you're exposed to it can be different. So that's where kind of, you need to do your numbers, reflect on it, how much you want it, what's your internal rate of return you want it, because we're working with investment partners where, they expect a certain level of returns. Can we do it? And more than the upside, how do we make sure the downside is being taken care? So we say, okay, and that's not easy, because I've tried different strategies and stuff, and blocks of flats where we think it's not me telling. No, I do the numbers. We got comparables, everything evidence wise. We pay a third party risk valuer to come, and they say from day one this is how it is. Then it's just like 3 months, 6 months, which is again okay, because from day one you got cash flowing on these assets, and your downside is very minimal. There's only upside from that, and then you recycle the capital if you can do multiple times in a year. There you go, and then yeah, I mean, we've been pretty good. We were struggling with first initially with the leads in the business. That's been sorted because now we've got a steady stream of income off market, on market, everything. So we're getting lots of deal, and now it's like bringing the right investment partners, more investment partners into the journey. So we are in the 7-figure in terms of portfolio. By the end of the year, we want to get to 8-figure. That's kind of a goal for the business going there. It's a massive goal in terms of getting there, but then it's just working with the right people who understands it. It's not just the money part, just where do they want to go, aligning it, and then having it's just a nice journey to have with the right people, and then life becomes a bit different. It's kind of
just to pause it, I think that it's so important when people are watching this, because obviously we have a mix: people starting, people scaling, people even at the third stage of selling. When someone's starting out, they hear 6 million. I think you said you spent on is that on the renovation side?
Renovations. There are 4 projects going, 4 developments going parallel for us into
parallel. So and that's 6 million where you got a mixture, probably development finance, private finance,
Yes,
all linked in there, and you can use mezzanine, whatever. It's people that are watching this that seem so foreign sometimes. I don't know when you started. Would you have thought you'd be dealing with those kinds of figures?
I mean, I still remember those days where I dreaded to go to a network meeting, a PIN or PP, and I don't want anybody to see me. I don't even have a single property. Please don't talk to me. I'm just here to know. But really, I mean, if they are, like you say, how many properties at that time, somebody asks, I don't. Just fine.
Just make it up. I live in a rented,
is kind of stuff. So it's which is what I love the whole thing about it. If I reflect back, your confidence level is there. That's what people have to think. Everybody has to start somewhere. All those people are we saying, we started from somewhere in terms of we never believed it, we have it. But just the one good thing is that you need to dream big. Even if you're not shooting, you're not achieving there. Even if you're a little down there, you're still better rather than So which is why I can't imagine when we started doing that level of things. But yeah.
But did you find? I don't know when. For me, it was the first million.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit that figure, what seemed like such a big thing, especially being from South Africa, because I still, if I want to feel better about my life, I convert the exchange rate, and I think, oh my goodness, that's a lot of money. Because one of my friends phoned me. I hadn't spoken to him a while, and he said, "Oh, Dylan, you're doing really well." And I said, "I mean, I feel blessed. To think the town where I'm from, £50,000 was a lot of money. That's R1 million in our local currency." And now there's that imposter syndrome thing that can slip in if I'm not careful, where I think, I don't deserve this. Which part of it's true in the sense of there's a humility to acknowledge I'm grateful for where I've come from, that I'm always grateful for what I have now.
Very true.
For you, and I found this because I want to do a trip back to my hometown, and I used to be a teacher, and I still got my pay slip in a folder in the office, and I used to earn, I think it was 500 quid a month, was my total monthly salary as a full-time teacher in South Africa. And that's what I survived on. That's what I lived on. So when you talk about £1 million now, it's like, you think you'd work your whole life as a teacher in South Africa and you wouldn't even get anywhere near that. That would just be impossible. So your mindset, and it's amazing how your mindset, like you say, it transitions when you're in a room with people and they talk about 10 million quid as if it's nothing. It changes your thinking. It broadens your horizons. What's been your journey, and how has your family back home? I mean, do they know how successful you are? And what's that shift been for them? Because sometimes jealousy can come in from broader family. Normally the immediate are pretty supportive.
I think you coming from South Africa, I can relate to India as well. When I did this, I don't want to tell anyone I'm doing it. Even our friends say, are you crazy? You're consulting? I don't have a big car. I could buy one, but then I was like going in a rundown car saying, why are you living like this, man? Like, they don't understand delayed gratification. If you explain to them, they say, you don't that middle, when you say you're middle class sort of thing, you're just increasing your lifestyle, going up. I would rather keep it,
keep it low.
Keep it low. Its idea is not to look rich, be wealthy. kind of, it doesn't come easy. It's not easy when you are in a good circle of friends, say, oh, they've upgraded their house. No, you might get from your pressure from your partner as well. Why don't we do it? We can do it. No. That's not how we do it. So, back to your question in terms of, it's, it's been a journey, and I'm really blessed, or coming from a small village back in, a town in like India, South India, and then being here. I think I've just been lucky to be here at that point. There are maybe, I feel like, there might be 10 times or 100 times more talented people back in South Africa or India. Given a market here, there might be more, passionate to do more as well. I don't know. But for me, it's just, it's just a step at every year. You're just reflecting back and say, what can you do? But sometimes, as you said, when you go with this big people, you want to, I want to get those many numbers. You go to chase numbers, and sometimes just reflect back and see and say, okay, I'm doing good. I'm happy where I am. I'm so blessed, and have 2 children. Having something here, and especially in IT world of my some friends, where this AI is disrupting it and things are changing so hard. They are thinking now about these things, like, what do I do now? Because they're just relying on that one single income. They don't have multiple streams of income to just say, what is going on. Their lifestyle expenses is so high, and it's really causing a lot of distress from their perspective. But I've been then planning for a while. It's been very slow to start with, but then that compound effect builds on it. Now I think you kind of get that belief you can make it happen. It's just a numbers game, as in, like, as long as there's nothing emotion attached to it. If the numbers are saying it's going to be, the comparables are there, this is there. If the deal is good, money will come.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's just, so that's not thing. You have been working with lots of partners, so it kind of works. But yeah, I would say everybody has to go through it all the ups. You become a bit sort of, there, and say, okay, you get hit in there and say, oh, reflect back and say, what did I do wrong? What did I say? Now this is all like a game. Just go with it. And I think more than that, I don't know whether you got children, right?
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes tell my friends, everybody wants to guide their children, and a blind can lead a blind. When I'm doing my self-development, actually I'm learning a lot, and that's what probably I could impart on. Say, just instilling that good habits onto them, exposed to that self-development books. The school system is not going to make them any better. So, like, for my son, I said he can do whatever he wants. So I apparently had some finance classes where, there's separate class, how to do a business, how to do your expenses, what's, fixed expenses, variable expenses, how do you manage it, what's your need. They just give you in a very entertaining way to them in terms of, digestible. So he understands the concept. They got games in there. Okay, you're a magician doing the show. You got this much funds, and then he need to allocate that funds into marketing, motivation of the employees, his stuff. So if you reduce stuff, then they just give you rate. Okay, you did everything well, but you didn't spend enough money on your marketing, so nobody turned up for your show, even though you got a good show to there. So he said, oh, I need to put more money.
Awesome.
I need to move more money in the marketing. And then he puts the things on there. Then he said, oh, all the motivation of the employees all down, so I haven't taken care of them. So you need to put certain percent. So it's like things are there out there. So they get the basic concept. No matter what field they choose to do later, they have the core skills. That makes sense. So they got the sales skills and they got the numbers right. They're pretty much okay. They'll have to go through their own journey, but they'll be safe. Those are the basic foundation skills I would say, can instill onto them. And then for us growing each time we grow, just be open to them and say, these are the good wins we are doing. Equally, these are the challenges I'm having. So that becomes a normal conversation. And they kind of get it, and just kind of, age is just a number. It's just what's your exposure level, how quickly you can expose them, or how early you can expose them to those stuff, make it normal in their life.
I think that's so important. And I think within parenting, first generation immigrants, which we both are, is we have the hustle almost inbred in us, because we've arrived from countries which, I love South Africa. There's so many problems, yet I still, have a love for the country. But you land in this country and you see opportunity all around you, and you think, why is no one taking?
Exactly.
It's like, my goodness, surely everyone should do this, because I'm from a country where the interest rate was 11.8, 12%. on buy to lets there. So a cash flow play wasn't really a thing, when I was there. Um, but arriving here, I thought, oh my goodness, I arrived 550 quid and able to build where we got. So we have this drive in build. Second generation kids can they still seen the hustle, so they kind of understand hard work. But then normally by the third generation, it's lost
Yeah.
because the lessons haven't been passed on. And so when I'm speaking to parents now, even people who are from this country, I'm saying we have to be so intentional with how we teach our children. And I'll still take them if I have to go to a property or something goes wrong and it's a mess and you do whatever needs to be done. I'll take my oldest daughter now, who's 5, and I'll take her with me intentionally so that she sees, hey, there's hard work involved here.
Yeah.
I want them to grow up knowing that. So I think it's great that you teach, these lessons and get them on site, whatever it is. There's so much that they can pick up, and I think parents have to take that responsibility now because the school
100%.
system's not going to pass that into them.
No, I mean, saying about that, I mean, nobody is perfect in terms of, my son is going through GCSE at the moment. I said, I don't care about your grades, but probably take it as a goal, whatever you want to achieve as that. But if you can try on, how you can focus, can you be somebody who can just focus for an hour or two, nail that skill? Are you getting distracted? Are your thoughts coming? I need to message my friend. How can you control that? Do that. That's a skill you want to do. If you want that skill later on, when you decide you want to do something, you got that, I want to do is focus. This is my flow state. Nothing is going to distract me. I'll make that happen. And then, he could do many things. That's where I was kind of, trying small things, changing on things, and it can have a big impact. Is what I'm hoping.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we come into a land soon, so this last 3 kind of questions I have, I'm asking guests intentionally because I think in this country they're not asked enough. Is firstly, what's your greatest fear? Would you say currently?
Greatest fear. Good question. I was somebody, I mean, I don't know, was reflecting on a bit. I had some on the growth side of things, I had a fear of, for some reason, poverty. Everybody has got fear of criticism, fear of, death, fear. I didn't have anything of that sort, fear, no issues. One day you'll die. I don't know, thing for me, like, but I've worked through it a lot in terms of, it's okay. It's just, it's something coming from your childhood or, things which carry on, that kind of thing. But gone through the challenges, I think I'm easy on, those stuff. It's just life is okay now. It's good. It's just, it's my family is just keeping dear and near to my parents. There's that freedom I get with, being with them as often as I can. That's one of the drivers. I want, like, one of the strategies why I choose is, when I want to unplug or do it, I have the freedom to go anytime without thinking, rather than being tied up with hardly into a business. So, but yeah, I mean, I want to be more closer to my parents, I would say. That's one of the things. But then that fear wise, I'm kind of okay.
Do you have a faith
I do.
in God? No, what
I
do you
believe in
in?
God, but I had a challenging time in between where I didn't, as you said, when you grow up there, this is holding me back, my beliefs and all the stuff. But then I had a phase where a few years that, no, the thing, and then kind of come back around. You need a balanced approach that faith brings you a lot of confidence in you. And so yeah,
Did you find was it a religion? Was it Hinduism?
I'm
Christian?
Hinduism. I'm a Hindu. Yeah.
So did you find a challenge with, because I know in Christianity, so I'm a Christian, is that sometimes people have kind of hiccups from their religious backgrounds where they feel like wealth is seen as greed, or some of the, it's not really what a lot of the religions actually teach, but people have to kind of overcome that obstacle, which feels like they going against their god or that. Did you ever
No,
come
I had the
across
same
that?
thing.
Yeah.
I felt like, I'm already getting money in consulting or other stuff. Am I worth it? Is I going to make it bad person and stuff? And I said that self development or reading lots of books helped me in terms of, money is a neutral thing. It only, the more of money only magnifies who you are. It's money is neutral. It comes to whoever the person. The more it comes, whatever your habits or whatever who you as a person, just get magnified a lot. And it just could be taken in a good way, saying, there's other things you want to keep it or you want to change, you can change. So yeah, I mean, that's how I'd see it.
So good, so good. And I think that the last one, and this is a well, second to last, so interesting one, because the two things people don't talk about in this country: politics and faith.
Yeah.
So, and it's the things where I think the world's trying to divide us down these lines so that we hate each other or can control really a population. So I'm intentionally talking into them, but saying, are you happy? Because I can hear like a positivity about opportunity in this country through our conversation, and I feel exactly the same. But are you happy with the current direction in the UK? Are you optimistic about the future of this country currently, where we're at?
To be perfectly honest, no, because yeah, it could help a lot with the investors or business. I kind of feel when these people say they're helping business, they treat business as Google, Amazon, or stuff, but the actual business are small business like us who need real help in terms of instilling what can you do for these guys to grow and do that. I don't think there's enough done from that part, because especially creating this additional NI and all it's making it is more jobs getting exported from this country to, it's so global these days, that's not there. But I'm a firm believer in terms of no matter where you are, you find your opportunity. You don't wait for the government or the country. I'm so lucky to be here. As you said, you still can navigate through lots of opportunities. This country has given me everything, who I am, like from where I came from, and this whatever I got at this moment, this country. So I'm so uh, blessed, or I got a lot of gratitude from what this has given me, the whole journey as such. So there is still opportunities and hope wise. I think massive things to be done here. But no matter what the government does, you can plan your thing. It's more on you. If you reflect back, I mean, once we as persons take responsibility, things become so easy. Now, you don't blame the government. You just think, what is one thing I need to change will make a biggest change, and that will do it. And it's been different. I mean, for me, you can get in kill for me. There's lots of wars, everything. You can get updated every hour, everything on it. That's not going to change your life. Your family, immediate person, who you want to take care. You can just get the highlights or something, and then focus on yourself and say, okay, how do I improve your family? Once you're done with your family, you can do a bit more outside, because if you have a bigger purpose than that in terms of helping others and stuff, that will drive you more, and that makes a big difference. And that's what I've seen is working for me.
It is, and it's spoken. I say it's like, because a lot of my friends, well, I have such a mix, but I have a lot of friends who are first generation immigrants, and the attitude that comes with that is, if you're from a country like us, we couldn't look to the government for support.
Yeah.
We especially South Africans, like, the government's corrupt. Hospitals, you wouldn't want to end up in a government hospital or something like that. So naturally, when you arrive here, your destiny is in your own hands, and you you have no safety net. And I remember when I landed here and I realized, oh my goodness, even if I don't work, they pay me money.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand. I thought, what is the risk? If you think of the downside, if it all goes wrong, you are going to be okay. There is so many schemes, so many things, and I couldn't believe that. But then I think a lot of people I'm talking to, especially business folk, and that I'm asking this question because I'm looking for genuine solutions and saying, how do we start having discussions with people who actually know how to fix different aspects of the economy? Because small business owners are just getting whacked time and time again.
Yeah.
And people always think, oh yeah, you're getting the big guy. I'm like, no, you're hitting the little guys who are just trying to get somewhere in their lives. And I just think we need to stand as a community and say, actually, this has got to change.
100%, 100%.
Mm.
That's the way to go.
So we're going to do it. But last question, and then we'll bring it to closes. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self, knowing all that you know now?
Good question. I would say be a bit more gentle on yourself, not to take too hard on yourself. Sometimes, when you look at that age and think, not happy where you are progressing, or you compare with lots of people at that point, knowing what you know, and it's not got a great place. So I would say be a bit more kind to yourself. Even now, it's like, it's okay. You're going your own journey. Everybody has got their own time lapse. It's like, you're not ahead or anything. Just reflect on you, what's important to you, and as long as you're doing good and not harming others or not doing really bad to others, good. You're here for a small time. Enjoy while you're here. Equally, if you can grow and be nice, and it'll be a nice, nice life to have. And if you can impact on your journey with lots of people on the journey, on your journey, that will be great. And I feel, yeah, that's what I'm kind of reflecting and sort of coming back.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an insightful conversation, and I appreciate your honesty and realness in it. And I think there's a lot of value for people to take from it. So thank you. And I wish you all the best in your journey as well. I think you're going to do great things. I look forward to the Trump Tower of Milton Keynes being built. And yeah, you're going to do great things. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you. It's been awesome talking to you today.
Cool. Thanks.